New polling out of South Carolina shows Tom Steyer surging, plus Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg appear to be in a statistical tie in New Hampshire now.
We are back with Democratic strategist Raul Alvilar, who previously served as National Political Director for the DNC, and media analyst Marshall Kosloff. All right, so this caught my eye. Let's throw this Boston Globe, Suffolk, New Hampshire tracking poll up. Now, let's say this is one poll, and others show Sanders still holding a sizable lead over Pete. We'll show another one here in a minute. But all of the polls that are coming out of New Hampshire show a significant surge for Pete Buttigieg, plus 12 in this poll since Monday. Because, you know, the media has basically treated him like the Iowa winner. I mean, he declared himself the winner, and the media bought it, and he is getting a polling surge commensurate with that.
I don't think this is just the media, though. I mean, I think that this is showing he's winning the electability argument. I think there's a huge segment of voters who are like, we just want to see the person who's going to win who is not Bernie. And I think
right.
So you don't even need a sort of media conspiracy here. There is a specific segment that, and this is why Joe Biden is doomed ultimately, those people are just switching over to Mayor Pete.
Yeah, they don't believe in Biden's core argument anymore that he can.
I mean, Biden's -7 in this poll, and that
terrible.
all went to Pete.
I mean, we saw him, Raul, at number 2 in New Hampshire consistently over and over again. RCP polling average, and now, boom, 12-point bump for Pete Buttigieg. I mean, I really think he could win the state. I think it's totally plausible because. Basically, like I said before in the earlier panel, the bottom is falling out for Biden and for Warren, and so much of those votes, there's enough overlap there, the non-Bernie vote that goes to Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, clearly he got the surge that he needed coming out of Iowa. Yeah. So, you know, some people question whether or not that was a good idea for him to declare victory when it wasn't actually set in stone. But apparently it was a good move on his part.
Strategically, tactically, great move.
Yeah.
I respect him as a gamesman.
Let's go ahead while you're talking. Let's put the other Emerson poll that just came out that has Sanders with a more sizable lead, and most of the polls do show Sanders continuing to hold a lead, but again, Pete coming up a couple points here, Biden going down a little bit. The swings here much less dramatic than what we saw elsewhere. But, you know, again, I don't think there's any doubt that Pete is surging in the state right now.
Yeah. And look, Mayor Pete doesn't need to win the state. I actually think a second in Iowa and a second in New Hampshire would be fine because it's clear to me that Sanders, you look at the polling, Sanders is in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
The real race that's actually going on right now is the also-rans who are competing to run against Bernie Sanders.
Right.
To sort of consolidate the center-left to sort of independent vote that isn't down for Bernie's platform.
One thing I've been thinking about a lot, Raul, and maybe I'm crazy, but it's that if Pete can win, he won Iowa, according to the media. Then if he wins New Hampshire, he gets second. Decent showing in Nevada, decent showing in South Carolina. And we go into a contested convention where Tom Steyer has a decent amount of delegates. Michael Bloomberg has a decent amount of delegates. Nobody has enough. Bernie has the majority, but nobody has enough in order to actually win. I feel like Pete is the perfect consensus candidate, right? These are all people who have donated to it, or their friends donate to Pete's campaign. He's not somebody who's a fundamental threat to their business interests and to their real politics. That is the game that I really see with Pete. I mean, look, he's got the DNC on his side now with this call. What am I insane?
No, I mean, look, it would be interesting to see because every time everybody wants an exciting convention. But no, I think look, here's the thing: we still have a lot of time left. We have a lot of states to go to. Super Tuesday is going to be really telling, right? And that's what I think a lot of these candidates are going for. They're going for the long game. They're going for the delegates because that's what's going to matter to your point.
Well, and that does bring up a good point, which is we do have new polling out of South Carolina as well. Post-Iowa polling shows Pete is still at 4%. And so that's the issue for him. I think it would be hard, given all of the DNC rhetoric about diversity and how important black and brown voters really are to the Democratic Party base, how central they are, I think it'd be very hard to make the case that Pete is the candidate people should get behind if he never is able to pull in significant minority support.
He's a fine vice. If you're sort of putting on that hat, right? I think he's a fine vice presidential candidate. He's a disastrous presidential candidate. He is not going to turn out voters in Detroit, right? So like in the states where if Democrats have the turnout enthusiasm gap problem they had in 2016, Mayor Pete's a disaster for that.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think the problem with him is that the mayor cheat thing, I think, is going to come back to bite him in the ass if he basically is building up all this ill will of whole segments of the party.
I think that is true. What do you think about that, Ro? Which is
Yeah.
that he's embittered probably, 35% of the Democratic Party?
And
by
not just
doing
the
this?
Sanders
Yeah.
people, by the way. The,
Oh, yeah.
the Warren people also
And
very
Biden.
unhappy.
Everybody's mad.
Everybody
Yeah.
is mad at him.
I mean, look, I think there's the X factor, right?
Yeah.
Which is we want Trump out of there.
Yeah.
So I think
That is layered on top of all
exactly.
this. Yeah.
I think so. That's going to be. I think that is such a visceral element out there, not just within the Democratic Party, but I think across independents, but I also think across women particularly. I mean, and if he continues on this current route of thinking that he can do whatever he wants because he feels that he's impeached, but exonerated, I think that's going to be also play into it. So I think. Democrats particularly are going to rally and get behind the candidate that we do decide to choose.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be
hard to disagree on that. Actually, I think that it's not quite clear everyone wants him out. I mean, we see
the highest approval rating
we see
ever.
the approval numbers, we see the economy, and then finally, and it's not that these people would vote for President Trump, it's that that's where the enthusiasm turnout happens. It's much easier to sit at home and not turn out for a nominee you're not enthusiastic for when the political and economic conditions are what they are.
And,
Well,
and
listen, if Bernie Sanders wins a plurality of the delegates and does not end up as the nominee, it will his people are not going to vote for. I mean, it will destroy
they
the
won't.
party,
Yeah, it
right?
really
If
would.
he wins a plurality and friggin' Michael Bloomberg ends up as the nominee, I mean, seriously, that's
Yeah.
a real possibility, and that will destroy the Democratic
I
Party.
really do think. I think it could happen, Raul, but maybe I'm wrong. All right, thank you guys. We appreciate you both.
Great to have you both.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next week on Rising, it's the lead up to the New Hampshire primary. National co-chair for the Bernie Sanders campaign, Nina Turner. She joins us to discuss their strategy.
And we are diving into Joe Biden's record on Social Security with Executive Director of Social Security Works, Alex Lawson. As always, like, share, and subscribe to us on our Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
And do not forget to join us Tuesday night for coverage of the New Hampshire primary. I promise you all, I have been promised, 9:30 p.m. We are going to have results, so you'll not have to hear us fill time and have fun here on the set.
I'm glad you're willing
Yeah.
to make that bet.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a little more cautious.
They have been, we have been promised.
There's no caucus, so
should I
people
believe
just go
them?
and vote.
I don't know.
It should be better.
All right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
See you later.
Enjoy the weekend.